Okay, let's talk about it. So, a clownfish that is born a male can change their gender to female. This change is triggered when the dominant female of the group dies. So, this is a survival mechanism. There are so many people saying, how transgenderism is evident in the animal kingdom. No, that is a survival mechanism. There's also another fish. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I think it's called a harem. Excuse me, but it's spelled Harem. When the male leader takes on too many females, this actually prompts the largest female to turn into a male hawkfish, and then she will split away with half the harems, right? So that they can better procreate and make more fish. It's a survival mechanism. Now the hawkfish can switch back again. The female turned male hawkfish may revert to female if, say, there's a new harem, the harem loses too many females, or if a larger male challenges them, they actually revert back to a female. They won't fight the male, okay? So again, we see in nature that animals that was given these type of survival mechanisms, which is really what they are, this was so that they could actually survive. You have to think that we eat fish, so of course, in order for it to continue to be replenished, they would need some type of survival mechanisms. Because when we go fishing, we don't necessarily say, oh, that's a female, throw it back, or that's a male, throw it back. It's a fish, it sells, right? So that is a survival mechanism. Now, let's talk about the female sea bass. When a female sea bass observes a decrease in the male population, they will switch. And this is a survival mechanism as well. Okay? They will switch so that they can continue to procreate and make more babies. Okay? You guys getting this? Follow me, because I'm going somewhere with this. I want you guys to follow this because I'm going somewhere with this. Okay? Every animal in the animal kingdom that does this, they have these gifts, talents, skills, whatever you want to call them, for lack of a better word, so that they can survive and continue to thrive in the ecosystem, right? We humans don't need that. Okay, so we cannot justify transgenderism with the animal kingdom. Now, you guys are going to have to find a better excuse than using what God has given other animals to justify your argument. If you want to be transgender, just be transgender. But these animals need these survival mechanisms. This has nothing to do with being with the same sex or feeling like they're not of the same. They weren't born in the right body. God doesn't make mistakes. We do. Okay. There's also a bright. It's what is it called? It's like a snail, but it's like bright yellow. It gets up to like 10 inches long. It's like a worm-like snail. And these snails are actually, because I don't know the name, so I'm just going to call it a snail, but they're actually considered hermaphrodites. And this means that they do not change back and forth, but they use their male and female, like they have both. They have their male and their female reproductive organs at the same time. Okay, and the reason for this is because so that they can continue to procreate in isolated situations. If you think about it, when you go out, like when it's raining, sometimes you may see like just one snail on the ground. You won't see a whole bunch, right? And a lot of times when you see snails, you do see them by themselves. They don't travel in packs. So that it would make sense that the Lord God would give them both reproductive organs so that they can procreate. But they do prefer to find a mate. I think they are called banana slugs, if I'm not mistaken. They prefer to find a mate, where they can curl up to one another and engage in, what they do, right? Yeah. So, anyways, there's a few more. I'm trying to think of it, but it's not really coming to me. The cardinal is another one, the bird. You usually see the red ones, and I think the red ones are the males. The female will often, you'll see, like, if you see a female cardinal, like, well, I guess it's not a female, but they're like half. So, like, half of the body is brown or whatever, and the other half is red. But these cardinals, they are they do not mate, and they are not verbal. So they do not make noise like regular cardinals, and they do not mate. And then the other cardinals in the community, they acknowledge their existence, but they do not treat them any different. And I think we really, as humans, can take something from this, because it shows how, these cardinals who have half, it shows in their feathers, how they do not live in that, oh, this is who I am, right? And then it also shows in the cardinal community how the other birds do not treat them differently, but they don't mate with them, right? Yeah, so I mean, I think that's a big lesson that we could take. Now, according to a study, the cardinals not only look differently, but they also act like super different as well. So there's like some research done from like '08 to 2010, maybe, I don't know, where they did like they observed the birds, and they were saying that the birds were not vocal and they did not mate. But on the plus side, of course, like I said, they were accepted into the community, but they were never they just don't mate, and they're not vocal. That's all. Now let's talk about frogs. So there are actually some frogs, because I got this from a friend. She was like, well, frogs, they can change their sex and da 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 da, and all this, like, the argument is real, okay? So research actually shows that sex reversal in frogs may be related more to pollution introduced by humans, such as herbicides like trazodone, I think it's called, which is a potent endocrine disruptor that both chemically it chemically castrates and feminizes the male amphibians. So, like, I know, it's some of this is our fault. Let's just be real, Now, another thing I want to talk about is, because I don't want to miss none, but I know I am, because there's so much in the animal kingdom that I don't know, But I do want to talk about a snake. There's the copperhead snake. So some female copperhead snakes, actually all female copperhead snakes are capable of a virgin birth, which is pretty cool. They do not need a mate to have babies. The females actually fertilize their own eggs, and they do this without a male sexual partner, obviously. And while this is technically not a reversal, this is an ability to carry out the reproductive function of both sexes at once, and not as a hermaphrodite. I guess not as a hermaphrodite either. Yeah, so there's snakes that can do it as well. And again, like I said, with slugs, when you see snakes, you normally see them by themselves. You don't see like a pack of snakes. At least I haven't seen a pack of snakes. I'm not saying it's impossible, because like I said, I'm not like that animal whisperer, and I don't have a lot of knowledge on the animal kingdom. And to be honest, I kind of just did this research because I wanted to prove a point, and the point is, I'm gonna get to that. But yeah, no. So they actually can fertilize themselves. They don't need like a male partner to do so. Then there's the bearded dragon. They actually perform a sex reversal in the egg. So studies show that and this is why. So studies do show that when warm temperatures occur during egg incubation, male bearded dragons often reverse course to become female, but it's not a complete switch. They actually remain male genetically, but act and reproduce like females. So they are considered, in our terms, non-binary lizards. So they do lay twice. These particular lizards, they do lay twice as many eggs as normal females. And male bearded dragons are currently undergoing sexual, sex reversal at a rising rate. And this is probably likely due, and like I said, this is all research, so this is likely due to the spike in global temperatures, like bearded dragons, green sea turtles, embryos. They also are temperature sensitive. So the warmer the sand where the eggs are laid, the more females are born. So in fact, according to a study, sea turtle hatchlings from beaches near Australia, the barrier reef, where global warming is particularly intense, were 86.8% to 99.8% female. So on cooler beaches to the south, hatchlands range from 65% to 69%. What impact might this dramatic sex imbalance have? Well, I guess researchers conclude that females may seek mates in cooler climates, so reproductive continues, right? Again, that's a survival mechanism, and I mean, we just see this so much in the animal kingdom, where they're just trying to procreate and trying to survive, survival of the fittest, right? Now, however, if it is too many females, if too many females can't find a mate, sea turtle populations, which are already endangered, could severely decline. So the natural order of things are different for the whole point is this: the natural order of things are different for different species. So we can't use the animal kingdom for compare and contrast as to why some people feel they were born in the wrong body. This type of argument is considered a fallacy. Let's just be real. Here's what we can conclude. Christianity is a choice, a way of life. Same sex is a choice, a way of life, right? I know this is controversial because most people don't feel it's a choice. They feel this is who they are. I want to attempt to clarify why same sex is a choice and not inherently who you are. Okay, so I'm going to try, and I hope I don't upset you guys, but if I do, I'm not going to apologize for that, because I feel like you guys need to hear this, okay? So, if I smoke every day of my life, one would say I choose smoking, but to me, I am a smoker. Always been attracted to smoking. I can't help it. If I don't smoke, I get fidgety and my nerves get bad. My tummy hurts, and the only thing that calms it is smoking, right? In part, you are right. I did decide to smoke. That was a choice. I don't have to be a smoker. I could quit. Then, in part, I am right. I have been smoking since a child, and I am comfortable with it. Now, at this point in the conversation, you may say, but I can't quit being gay. I can't help who I am, right? Or who I'm attracted to, I guess. To that, I would say, well, I can't quit smoking. I can't help what calms me down. You say, if I quit dating who I am attracted to, I'll still be attracted to the same sex. And to that, I say, if I quit smoking, I'll still want to smoke every day for the rest of my life. The foundation of Christianity, I guess, like the foundation of Christianity is this, right? Is the understanding that you deny your desires daily, not that they will disappear, okay? Because I feel like that's a big thing. People like, give your life to the Lord, don't be gay, right? Like, no, your problems should not be disappearing, okay? You deny them and you put into practice accepting what God wants you to do instead. That's it. Following Christ is not about you. It is about loving the Creator so much that your desires simply take backseat. You become a passenger, and the Creator becomes the captain or driver in your life. It's the Creator's will, not yours. So instead of asking, can I be a Christian and be gay, or is being gay a sin, or is being transgender wrong? All these different questions that I see people asking on Reddit, because I'm a big Reddit person, so I'm always on Reddit. Anyways, the better question is this: am I ready to sacrifice my wants and desires for the wants and desires of the Creator? If the answer is no, that's your choice. If the answer is yes, that's your choice. We all have free will. All choices come with consequences, okay? So, your choice, your consequences. It's simple. Nobody has to suffer your consequences but you. So choose well. That's it. Choose well. And stop making excuses. That's all I have to say, really. And, don't make an excuse. If you want to do something and your desires is more important and more of a priority to you than having a relationship with the Father, then that is that. But you have to think about it like this. I said all that, and some of you guys are still going to disagree. That's because your heart is hardened. You don't want to know the truth. You don't care about the truth. You want to be right so bad because you don't want to believe that you're living in sin. But I'm here to tell you that as long as you live in sin and you don't want to believe that you're living in sin, it's like sitting in a prison with the door open until the door closes and it's too late. That's it. That's all. You don't get a second chance. You don't get a second do-over. Okay? So I think that, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of, what do you want? Ask yourself that. What do you want? Sometimes I do that. I'm like, what do I want? Like, really, what do I want? Because if I want a relationship with God, then I have to deny homosexuality every day. That's a part of my life. That's a part of my journey I have been gay for a very long time. And so denying that every day is I wake up, and that's what Christians call bearing your cross. Sacrificing. Deciding that what's most important is living a life of holiness and being reunited with God. Now, you may say, some of you guys may ask the question of, well, why does God care about who I sleep with? Because as you can see, based off of the animal kingdom, which is what a lot of you guys are using to justify the transgender stuff, right? And the gay stuff. There is a natural order of things. If you're familiar with or have ever been around weed plants, like marijuana plants, you know that any grower in his or her right mind, would not put a female weed plant in a room with a male weed plant. Now, you would think that if you do that, you get more bud. That makes the most sense to me. That's the most logical. But the truth is that is not what happens. If you put a male plant in a room with a female plant, they will create more seeds. Ain't that something? So that you can plant them and you can produce more of a crop, right? That's all you're going to get is seeds. Okay? It's obvious that being gay is wrong. You don't need a Bible to tell you that. You don't need a Christian to tell you that. You don't need God to tell you that. These are things that are embedded in you and in nature. Okay? Walk out of your door and look. Look at the trees. Look at the fruit they produce. Look at your pet, your favorite pet in the house. How your pet maybe can't have puppies because it doesn't have a opposite sex, right? And we can't use science as we can have babies now, because of science. Well, God has nothing to do with what man has created, loopholes. That's what we call those loopholes. God has nothing to do with that. We're talking about taking us back to a point where we didn't have those options. You're dying for kids. You want kids so bad. You want to raise kids, but you're not even thinking about the fact that if it's so right, if your lifestyle is so right, so perfect, and okay in God's eyes, then why did God prevent you from doing the one thing that you want? The one thing that most of us want. If you can answer me that. Answer me that. And don't answer it with, oh, well, a lot of people can't have kids. Okay, that's their journey, right? That's their journey. And we can contribute that to a lot of things like diet, a lifestyle, right? Previous healthcare decisions like abortions, right? We can attribute that to that. And then there's some people who just really just have issues, right? Let's just be real, like endometriosis, but that is not an excuse to say, well, everybody can't have kids, so how do you explain that? No. Stop gaslighting, you guys. Stop gaslighting. Just be real with yourself. That's my whole point of my video, is to just encourage you to be real with yourself. That's it. Be real with yourself. You're wrong. You're living in sin. And it's your choice. And you can be like, that's okay. It's okay. You don't have to be you. If you want to enjoy your life here on earth and you don't want to go to heaven, that's okay, right? And you're probably saying, well, who say I'm not going to go to heaven? Well, look, here's the thing, right? I could tell you the Bible. I could say the Bible. But I'm not going to tell you the Bible says that, because you already know that. You had heck of Christians drill that into you. I'm sure of it, right? I'm not going to do that, right? Who says hell is real? Not going to do that either. Not going to get into that. But you're thinking, well, why won't you get into it, right? Okay, yeah, no, I'm not going to get into that. But I'm going to get into why there's this belief that you're going to hell, right? Now, hell, as we think of it, is a physical place. But the real hell is the separation from the Creator, because you are a part of the Creator. We all are one, right? The real hell is the separation. Now, I'm not saying hell is in a physical place, because the Holy Bible speaks of hell as a physical place, and I'm going to believe that, okay? That's what I believe. But for your mental, I'm not going to speak of it as a physical place. We're going to speak of it as just the absence of the Holy Spirit and the absence of the Father, right? Acknowledging that this life is temporary, right? And we will die, be unalive, whatever you want to call it, right? We won't be here forever. When you leave, there is life on the other side. If you think that you can come to this life and do whatever you want and there will be no consequences in the next life, you are sadly mistaken, okay? Even in this life, you can do what you want, but there is consequences to everything. Good consequences, bad consequences, right? To everything that you do, even in this life. Think about it like this. You want to be like, okay, well, why would God, like I said, we're going to go back to that. Why would God care about who I sleep with? I want to go back to that. I want to touch that a little bit more. Here's the thing. Your mom and your dad, your earthly parents, the ones who had you, who raised you, who loved you to death, right? When you were growing up, they were raising you, right? They were chastising you, disciplining you. And if they wasn't raising you. But if they were raising you. They were disciplining you, chastising you, guiding you. But all in the name of protecting you from making bad decisions that would have a ripple effect on your life, right? Whether that was smoking, drinking, having fornication, whatever the case was, right? They may have not even been Christian. They may have been atheists, because even atheists raise their kids, right? And the moment you do something that your parents don't like, you kind of get the cold shoulder. You know, it might not be like intense, but you get the cold shoulder. You know what I mean? Like, that's even like a form of punishment. You know, they say, like, if your kid, your toddler is not acting right, don't give them attention, ignore them. Right? And I know that everybody don't believe in ignoring their kids, but, you know, it's a form of punishment. It's better than beating them, you know? So I think that you have to really ask yourself, like, is this life that we live in now a reflection of what God called us to live, how God called us to live and be, how our relationship with the Father is? Because the real question is, do you love yourself more than you love the Creator, or do you love the Creator more than you love yourself? If you love the Creator more than you love yourself, then you really don't get to live in sin, because you wouldn't hurt somebody that you love. You don't continuously hurt people that you love unless you got some issues, right? You hurt people that you don't love. You can't say you love God and live in sin. You just can't. And, you know, I always tell people, you know, my biggest thing is this. Don't listen to me. Once you go and figure out what's your favorite thing to eat, find something you do every day. Whether that's scrolling on Facebook or eating a burger or whatever you do every day. Because you love it. You can't live without it. And then taking for 7 days, give it up. And then just pray at 3 a.m. every morning. And watch God reveal to you the truth. Because you don't need the Bible. Talk to God. But you need work, because prayer without work is dead. So you need to pray and you need to fast to get your answer. And until you're willing to do the work to get your answer, I mean, it's kind of out of my hands. It's out of everybody's hands, because you want to believe what you want to believe, and that's okay. But don't beat up the Christians about, you know, don't beat the Christians for trying to tell you, you know, that you should change your life, because it's simply just a warning, right? And I know that some Christians don't deliver it well, and that's wrong, and they have some things they need to work on, but two wrongs don't make it right. That just is what it is, right? But yeah, so deuces.